Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring the Goblin Slayer TRPG. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review featuring this role-playing game based on the popular fantasy series, please check out the playlist in the description below. Before we begin, I want to talk about the channel's sponsor, Heroes and Hardships. This is a universal RPG system, allowing you to play any sort of genre, adventure, story. The Kickstarter is about to begin. I'm going to put a couple of links in the description to the Kickstarter page and the website. I am also going to put links to my reviews of the Quick Start guide of Heroes and Hardships. Definitely take a look if you want to know more about the system, although it's just the tip of the iceberg. That is not the complete rulebook. I'm also going to put a link to my review, the two parts of my review featuring Wallace, the setting featuring the life and exploits of William Wallace, so that you can check out the sorts of adventures that you can play with Heroes and Hardships. So please definitely check that out. Now let's continue with the review. This is about the actions of characters and movement. The characters act step in the combat round. After determining the action order, the characters are obviously going to act. A turn is when a specific character can act. In one turn, a character can move once and perform one main action. This can be performed in any order. The characters can move and then perform a main action. Or they can do the main action first and then move. They can also do a main action and not move at all. Or they can move without taking a main action. They can even do none of these things and pass their turn entirely. Once the character has both moved and taken a main action, or the character has chosen to forfeit one or both, the turn ends, and it becomes the turn of the next character in the action order. And once all characters participating in combat, both allies and enemies, have finished their turns, you move to the fourth step in combat, which is round ends. Let's talk about movement. Characters can move up to their movement speed in meters. They can move up to twice that if running, and up to 4 times that if running at full speed without caring about anything else. However, if a character runs or uses a full movement, that character will take various penalties to checks and restrictions to main actions, depending on the actions, of course. When a character moves, they need to specify a destination and their path from their current location to that destination. Naturally, they can't go any farther than their movement speed along that path with whatever movement method they use, which could be normal movement, running, or running at full speed. However, it can be straining and time-consuming to calculate every movement. And of course, any obstructions barring the character's path will affect them. If a wall is in the way, the character might have to make a jump check to handle getting over it. Alternatively, it might cost some movement to get across. If the wall is too high and can't be crossed, the character can try climbing it with a climb check. If that doesn't seem appropriate during combat, they will just have to decide on a different path of movement to go along the wall. The game master should take the situation into consideration when deciding how to handle obstructions like this along a character's path of movement. When a character tries to move, under certain conditions, enemies may obstruct the character's movement. Perhaps the character's current position is within reach of the enemy that is within 5 meters. Or the character's movement path brings them within reach of 5 meters. That means the enemy can attempt to obstruct the movement of the character. But this also works the other way around. If an enemy is careless enough to move within 5 meters of a player character, the character can try to obstruct the enemy. Whoever is obstructing the other's movement performs a movement obstruction check. In response, whoever is trying to move makes a movement obstruction resistance check. Then you use the final scores for each and compare them. If the character trying to move wins, that is, they succeed in their movement obstruction resistance check, they are able to move to their destination as planned. If the character doing the obstructing wins, that is, they succeed in their movement obstruction check, the character who was trying to move must end their movement within reach of the character who obstructed them. The obstructed character decides where within their obstructor's reach to end their movement. When it comes to main actions, a character can perform various main actions such as attacking with a weapon, using a spell, using a skill, using an item, declaring an attempt to flee, and because this is a role-playing game, many other actions could be taken depending on the terrain, on the context, and with the logic and reasoning of the way that the game master is running things. And with the approval of the game master, of course, a character may only perform one of the main actions listed or mentioned earlier during a single turn. But there are also free actions. A free action is any supplementary action a character takes that isn't one of the main actions, such as switching their weapon or shield, but only before a weapon attack, getting up from being prone, knocking an arrow, removing one item from their knapsack or bag, or having a conversation that lasts less than 30 seconds. Characters may also perform an action other than this as a free action, but only with the game master's permission. A character can use a free action at any point during their turn. If the game master decides the character's free action would most likely take longer than 30 seconds, they can end that free action in the middle, or have the player not perform it at all. As a rule of thumb, one free action should take about 10 seconds, and the game master may allow players to perform up to 3 free actions in one round. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part we are going to talk about the round ends step of combat. Movement, as you can appreciate, is quite abstract in this game. If you don't like exact measurements in a hex grid or a square grid, you're going to like this system. And it feels a bit like a simulation of an MMORPG. It feels a bit video gamey, but in the best sense possible, with those ways of obstructing and provoking the enemy. But because this is a tabletop role-playing game, many other things could happen that are not within the framework of a video game. So you have a lot of flexibility when it comes to handling movement, actions, the use of spells. There is ample room for creativity when using your resources, your abilities, your weapons. There is no limit. But there will be consequences to the character's actions, of course. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.